Hi, I'm Jamie.
I'm Jen.
Welcome to our podcast, All Things Unbroken.
Life breaks us in ways we never expect, but God rebuilds us in ways we could never imagine.
So come hang with us as we talk about relationships, motherhood, wellness, grief, recovery,
And the slow, beautiful process of becoming unbroken.
Hi, cousin.
Well, hello, cousin.
Just say
Mm,
it. Just say, hi, baby
Mm-mm,
cousin.
mm-mm.
No, I miss it though.
Earlier on the phone, I called you baby cousin. I was like, I miss it too. Hi, baby cousin. It's
Thank
been,
you.
you look beautiful. I love you in glasses.
Thank you. I do not feel the same sentiment, but thank you for the encouragement and making me wear them so I can see you.
Like you
I love
see.
you.
How was your weekend? We're coming off of a weekend. How was your weekend?
Oh my goodness. We had a great weekend.
Yeah, you did.
Um so it was actually, I don't know, probably one of the better. I mean, the weekend before last we went camping, which was amazing. And it was like perfect weather, and then this weekend we had my husband and I had date night, and we went to dinner and dancing, and we had our 10-year anniversary earlier in March, but we hadn't made it, like we did like a day date that day, but we hadn't made it out yet. So we went to dinner. Someone got us a little gift card, which was really nice. And so we had steak. And then Saturday we had a thing at church. It was called brunch with besties or brunch and besties. I don't know. But it's like a women's thing, which is really cool. And so we had all sorts of good food. It was me and my mom, my daughter, and then my sister wasn't able to make it, but her mother-in-law, who's always with us at like family stuff, she came with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cool because the comedian JJ Barrows was there, which I
You were
love
talking.
her stuff. And I feel like she's like very like-minded with us. So it was very cool um, to see her in person and get to meet her. And I got her book, which I will tell you all about when I get around to reading it. And then Saturday night, I had like a yes day kind of afternoon and evening with my daughter where I was able to, she's like, Mom, I'd really like to do this. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Just kind of like fun, simple things. And then later in the evening, one of them was like, I want to go practice tennis. So we went out and played tennis for a couple hours, which that was fun. I feel like I'm like going on and on, but it was a really good weekend. So I'm
Well,
almost
good weekends
done.
are good. No. My favorite part's coming up. But also, I want to
Yeah.
pause for a second and say how important it is. I only have a 4-year-old, so I don't exactly know. But I mean, just as being a mom, I feel that with you because so many times I feel like, you're doing the schedule, running them around, doing the things. And sometimes you're just so busy, worried about their hearts, about their thinking, all the things. And some days it's just nice to have a moment where you're just like, yes, let's do this. And so for us, it may be like a movie night or a little sleepover or what. And it's nice just to like have. So I wanted to pause and say how important that is just as a mom sometimes, whatever season they're in. Just
Yes.
because,
Yes.
as you know, our hearts are always thinking and worrying and planning the next thing, right? So I'm glad you had that with her. So
Yes, thank you. The boys were gone at a farrier conference. So they were doing like their guy thing. We were hanging out.
love
And
it.
tennis is really fun with her because she's so different than me, which is perfectly fine and great. And I always encourage her in her things, but like she does like dance and cheer. I never did any of that. I always played sports. So with her playing tennis, like that's something we can do together that I actually like know. I know a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about it and I could actually help her a little bit or so that's fun. And then Sunday, is this the part you're waiting for?
I wasn't waiting for it, but it's like I love it.
Sunday morning at our church, my baby boy got baptized and it was awesome. And I got it on video, of course. And I actually didn't cry as much as I thought but I think it's because I was like, okay, I've got to run around here and go meet him and help him out, like I was, but a lot of the family was able to show up and be there. And then we went to lunch after and it was just very cool. Very
Can
cool.
I
So,
can I can I say something about that? And I want to say
yeah.
this because I don't know, it came into my heart. It was something that you told me because I had known about the baptism you told me a little while ago. And one of the
Yeah.
things you mentioned, because you know, as us being moms, I think we kind of connected on like how we raise them, what they believe, and lately now even like deciding what schools we're going to go to, all the things. Our minds are very anxious, and or at least mine has been very anxious and worried about that. It's funny, I'll tell you what my husband said about this earlier. We had a talk. Um, it was basically like, as they grow older, getting them to know God and our faith, I want you to kind of, if you feel comfortable, like mention about how, like, obviously this is an amazing thing. He's following Jesus. But
Mhm.
can you give your opinion for a second about that? Not opinion, your thoughts on, the age and him accepting Christ. I don't know if you want, sorry, I didn't mean to pull this up, but I kind of, it's very,
Oh,
sorry. I just wanted you to like note it because I think in this
yeah.
season, I mean, I have a 4-year old and she's about to be in, kindergarten,
Mhm.
and we've had many conversations. Really give it to God and you pray for your kid's heart, but and they're going to be 18 one day and go a different way. Can you just maybe make a note if you're comfortable doing that on your thought with that?
Yeah,
Just, yeah.
absolutely. And I will just say I am not any sort of like professional, like theologian resource
Right.
on any of this. So
No, yeah.
take it
Whatever
with
we
a
say,
grain of
we're just saying
salt,
it.
take it to the Lord in your own
Yeah, yeah.
situation.
But I just think it'd
And
be interesting. I liked how you shared it with me. So I just,
so, yes, he is 9.5 now. And there were previous, so our church does like baptism, like celebrate Sunday a couple times a year. And there have been probably one or two times in the past where he's like, I want to get baptized. I want to get baptized. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's talk about it. There's all sorts of things. I grew up in an independent fundamental Baptist church. And so there was a lot of like, get people saved, like get kids to say this prayer. And I did that when I was probably about his age. And when I was 16, I don't even think it's really the right term, but people are familiar with like got saved. Like I actually got saved again, not again, but when I was 16, I had a different understanding, right? I'm sure some theologian out there can pick this apart better than me, but I know one of the things that I always heard about was like the age of innocence. Like at a certain age, they don't know, like are they convicted by the Holy Spirit when they're 4 years old? You know what I mean? And then you get into these questions of if something happens to them at age 7, where did they go? Because they weren't set. Like there's all those nuances, and everybody has kind of their own take on it and opinion and what they can find in scripture. So for us in our situation, I loved that he was wanting to do this because in my mind, I'm like, well, he's having a heart for the Lord and he's having a heart for doing what he sees and knows and believes is right. So we had conversations about salvation, like, what does that mean? What are you saved from? And, at the beginning, sometimes the answers were more like, so I can be good and do the right thing. And then we have to, and then you just go to scripture, like our righteousness is as filthy rags. And kids might be like, what? What does that mean? So just kind of simplifying it for them. And honestly, I had the thought of, well, and probably because of just the culture I was raised in, of like, well, what if he's not saved and I'm letting him get baptized? But I prayed about it quite a bit. And the resolve I came to in my heart where I felt peace was like, he loves the Lord the best he knows how right now at his age. He wants to serve the Lord. He has a big heart and he wants to move forward in that. And I don't think it would be anything beneficial for me to hold him back, if that makes sense. So,
it,
um,
thank you. Because I will tell you, even today, it was interesting in the car on the way to school. My daughter was dry. I say school, her little program. She goes 3 days a week. We were on the way today to a sports day, so we were dressed. We were going, and she was in the back seat. And I was out of town this weekend, but this morning she was extra tired, and she kept telling me something was going on. She's like, "Well, God's going to be mad at me."
mhm,
And and to go to what you're saying, she's 4. Your son is 9, right? So there's a difference, but already at this age, she's starting to pick apart the feelings. And I was like, why are you mad at you? She's like, because I didn't want to go up because the sun's out. I'm like, so you think that he's going to be mad at you because you have feelings because you're tired? So
mhm.
already I see this, but then I knew, like, we talked about your son getting baptized, and already my mind is like wrapped around this, like what you just said. Are we giving him the right thing? Are we condemning it? Is it right or wrong? Da 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 da. right now, Alex and I are going through a process of figuring out, how kindergarten is going to look and all the things. And one of the
Mhm.
things he said today, this morning, he was on the way into work, or to, yeah, in town. And it hit me like when, as a baby, it was a lot easier for me to give her to God every day
Mhm.
because she was a baby and then she was one and then she was two and then I was with her all the time, now that they're getting older, and
Mhm.
it's a little bit different to say, God, I give her to you. And it's so interesting, especially after all the things you talked about giving up the control and whatever. Here I am today, literally this morning, being reminded of the things. So thank you for sharing, because I think it's something that will continue to come up. And it's, as a mom, especially as a parent, you want to point them in the right direction. And I think I've had a lot of anxiety about that, especially going into this new
Mm.
chapter that we're about to have. So
Yeah,
cute.
for sure. It's a great question. Thanks for bringing it up. And I know everyone's going to have, their different
Sure.
beliefs on it, and I would just say like pray about it, use discernment, talk to your spouse, listen to the Lord, talk to your pastor, and just work within that framework,
Hmm.
because I think the bottom line is like, thank God that my kids want to know the Lord. They're not perfect, but I love actually seeing them be human, because I will say, even that afternoon at lunch, he said some things to his sister that I'm just like, yep, that's human. Like, we love the
I
Lord,
love
and we
it.
also have our temperaments or things that we're working on. And so that's
Right.
kind of how we approach things in our house. It's not very legalistic here of like, do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
And the Lord's
I,
going to be angry at you or whatever. I'm not saying that you said that at all. I know that didn't come from you guys, but it's like, let's
I
just
mean,
be
who
real.
knows?
Like,
Who
my
knows? I
kids have,
mean, who knows if I where it came from? But like what my response to her was, I go, God never is mad at you for having feelings. What it
right?
is like there could be some disappointment, like mom and dad have, of the reactions of that. So you can be mad and you can be angry and you can even get in a fight with your friend, but it's if you push them or call names.
Hmm.
And no matter what, we love you, God loves you, but sometimes we may be disappointed. Just like whenever mom does something and you get mad at me and I maybe I raise my voice, like, are
Hmm.
you sad? So that's about the best way I could explain it to a 4-year-old. But
Yeah.
I think that as an adult, sorry to interrupt you. I totally interrupted you. I did
Mhm.
not mean to.
You're good.
As an adult, we need to talk to ourselves that way, because I think that I judge and criticize
Yeah.
myself as well as friends and family whenever they do something. So this is like
Yeah.
a full circle thing. So anyway, but no, that was my
Yeah.
question, because just our hearts of, I don't know, my mom worry's been real about this next phase, about making the right
Hmm.
decision. Um, I love her like she loves her little, you know, where we're at right now. It's a private Christian 3-day week program, and I know where her heart is. And it's like, are we going to spread our wings? Like, what are we going to do? And it's also reminding ourselves, as you go through that too, that no matter what we choose, we can always pivot, and God can redeem anything, because we're going to probably screw them up. Not really, but you know what I mean? Like, he can redeem what he has redeemed us, right? Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
I think growing up, we were kind of given this idea. I don't know if it was like this at your church, but of like, the Lord's will for your life is like this perfect, ideal thing. And if you don't find that or attain it, or you miss it, then like basically you're screwed for the rest of your life. Like, and so
Hmm.
that was kind of my mindset. And I remember, I feel like this is a good moment to bring this up if it's
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
I remember in my young adulthood having no idea how to make a choice of like, am I supposed to? There was a lot of am I supposed to, because of how I grew up. And honestly, I wouldn't even say it was from my parents. I think it was more from the church. Um, am I supposed to marry this person? Am I supposed to go to school here? Am I supposed to do this? And as a young adult, I was not prepared to make those decisions because I had been in this anyway. Um, and I remember, I wish I could remember if I heard somebody say it or if I was just praying about it. I think I was just praying about it. It was something that the Lord showed me. But if there's somebody out there that deserves credit for this, I apologize. But um, what I heard was that Jesus is the good shepherd, and shepherds lead their sheep from behind, meaning they don't grab you by the neck, they don't grab the sheep by the neck and drag them here and there. I mean, obviously, sometimes there are things we're supposed to do or not supposed to do, and the Lord reveals that. But there are a lot of times when there's grace to just make a decision. And I'm feeling like that with some things in my life too right now, where it's like, I could make this decision or I can make this decision. And either way, I'm not going to mess anything up because the Lord is walking behind us with his staff, watching us go where we go. And if we start to go into danger, he will pull us back. If we start to go
Hmm.
the wrong way, he will guide us back. And if you think of your life more from that angle, I think there's a lot more grace and there's a lot less stress and anxiety and I mean, it can still feel a little bit anxious, but it's like you kind of pray about it. Lord, in this very decision, is this something that you do have one specific path for me, or is this one of those sheep things where I get to, I just get to choose, and you're going to bless it either way. What do you think about that?
I totally feel that. And it's funny because I was talking to my husband about it today, and I was like, I now understand what our parents meant all these years ago as they were parenting us and making decisions, and like when
Hmm.
we weren't listening and all the things. And now I understand what that all meant, which is very
Yeah.
interesting, because it's easy to do what you're saying. It's not easy in any way, but like as far as being single or newly married or by yourself, for myself. But when you add another human, but that's where I'm going to bring this in and say, I've said this before, they are not ours. They are not our property. They are not our, they're not ours. They
Right.
are our children, but they're his first, and we are here as vessels to
Mm.
help guide them. That doesn't mean no one will make mistakes. So I think just reminding myself of that like daily. Um, and it's so funny because we'll be on these roles like, oh yeah, and then something will happen making a decision, and it's like we get stuck there. And I just think remembering that and remembering that everyone is human
Hmm.
and we're going to make mistakes. And I think I've talked about this in my, I loved my church. I was Southern Baptist. So it was a little different than Independent Baptist, but um, I loved the youth group. I think the basis of my faith comes from my dad and my family and the youth group, and it was great. One of
Yeah.
the things I did not love, and I will not put this on, is the True Love Waits ring that we did when I was 15. Um, that was something kind of like what you're supposed to do. I'm sorry, but if it, not looking back now, being my age, that was a like kind of like the understanding of that wasn't there, and there was a lot of shame and guilt later in life because of that, and I still probably have some
Yeah.
repercussions, and it's part of learning and growing, and we'll figure that part out. So, um, I really think it's important as parents for us to, you know, shepherd our kids, and also point them, and also just make them know no matter what you do, we love you for who you are, and we're going to figure this out together. And also, I'm not perfect. I can't even
Mhm.
tell you how many times I apologize to my kid. I
Yeah.
can't even tell you. So,
Same.
anyways,
No,
yeah.
same. I love it. Good, good stuff. And yes, I have a
Yeah,
13-year-old, so we're coming up into those years of, we like so and so, or what is dating going to look like? Is dating even allowed? Like, what are the rules? And I agree. Yeah, that sort of, they call it purity culture now. I definitely believe there's very clear, things in scripture about what we should do and what we should not do. But I think what you're talking
absolutely.
about is like the shame and guilt, and
Yes.
like just kind of white knuckle this and like do this, don't
But
do
it
this.
was also
And
like, it was my decision though. Like, my parents never made me do that,
yeah,
but it was the culture of what was happening. So
yeah,
you're going to, but I wish I would have understood more, because for a while, like, I made some mistakes, and for a while it was kind of like I was going to go to hell, when I was like a teenager,
yeah.
for because I didn't make good decisions. Maybe I should edit that out, but I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, I've definitely grown and learned, and looking back, it's like I made a promise to God, and I broke that, and it really, and then I know that's kind of going like very deep and way off. I don't know what we're going to talk about today, but like you look at that, and we look at especially like our daughters, and I think it's important to just know the ins and out, and not like force anyone, not that anyone forced you, but like what they listen to, who they're around, like just knowing like God's grace and
Mhm.
everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where this is coming
Yeah.
from, Jamie. This is going.
No, I
Again,
love it.
we get
I
on
love
here
it.
and we just start talking. I think that's an important. I just in the realm of having children, I think that's very in our worlds right now. And I think it's kind of cool that I have a younger one and yours are older, and but I'm older than you, and it's a whole like different. We were both we're both Baptist, but they were different.
Mhm.
What do you call it? Love, not love, different
Different, like, faction
branches.
of it or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's funny too because you were saying, like, you're older than me, I'm younger, but our kids are the opposite. But then, like, your husband is younger than you, and my
And yours
husband's probably a
older.
bit older than me. So, yeah, it's funny. Things are different when you get when you get to this stage, but
I love it.
yeah, I love it. Um, ooh, that was a lot. I had
I
so
mean,
many
we could
things that
just
I
end
was
right there. I think about no shame and guilt and how we raise our kiddos. No, I appreciate
no,
the talk. I
because
needed it, I guess, today. I needed this talk today for you to hear your wise words.
yes, I don't know about that. But you know what? We all need the Lord every day, every night.
I think it's like
Parenting,
a,
relationships, our
oh,
mental
that's what it
health.
was. Alex said to me, we were talking about faith and talking about trusting, you know, just like making a decision about what we're doing. He's like, and it comes back to it's really easy when everything like it's very clear, but it's hard whenever it's not clear and you have to make a decision. You have to have faith. It's hard. You can't
Yeah.
only make decisions. It can be about anything about our kids, about their school, about what our jobs, what we're doing. It's very easy to say it. And even me, like I get on my little high horse. I'm like, oh, I did. 'Cause I look back at life and I can tell you where like I've had peace all these years
Mhm.
and whatever. But when it comes to something that you're really like passionate about or you really have strong feelings about, you know, especially like our children, right?
Mhm.
It's really it's harder, I feel, for me. Like you have to believe it, right? You have to go back to that. You have to have faith, but you can't just have faith. You have to believe. I have to believe if I make the wrong decision, like if I make the wrong decision, right? That
Mhm.
it's like I have to believe that it's going to be okay. And I really do believe that, but we're human and we're control freaks. We're still control freaks. You think I would learn that by
Yeah.
now? So even with your
Okay.
decision with your son, right? Like,
Mhm.
should I let him or
Yeah.
not? Anyway.
All the things, the work. So, on your point, I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, I know I did it to you. I'm sorry.
You're talking
And
about,
we'll
like,
talk about
putting
you next time. I'm
things.
just kidding.
Well, we still haven't even finished our intro because we were going to talk about your weekend and all
No,
that.
what's good? We have
But
to
to
do it. You're
your
fine.
point, to what you were saying, letting go of control, or like giving God
There you go.
control, but then like leaving it with Him.
Okay.
Let's talk about going back and listening to podcast episodes.
I didn't know what you. Oh,
You love me. Don't
wow,
forget.
Jamie. Oh, yeah. So I will. What was that? A question or just a pointed like?
No, it's if
Get
you
out of your head.
want to discuss it
Yeah, I'll
as
talk about
a
it.
supporting point, or if you'd rather not, I can cut it all out.
Oh, we're not. We're just gonna go with it because that's what we do. Um, yeah. So recently, we've been sharing our podcast with people, whatever, and for some reason, I decided to like get on and listen to our old ones. And you know, we've only have like our 12th episode, I think. So it's not like we're still very, very new. We have no idea
Oh
what we're doing. We're
yeah,
just doing
we're
this to
learning.
connect. Here we are. And I went back in the first season, the first one, I literally I texted my little cousin. I was like, man, we're talking fast, da 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 da. And there was a reason we had done it that way because when you're producing it, when you're editing it, you have to go and cut certain things, and then you
Mhm.
it's out there, and then pulling the back. So we had decided the first, I think, couple episodes, we're just going to leave them as is, and then move forward because we're learning. Totally fine, which just makes sense. Okay, we're not
Yeah,
professionals. We're doing this
we
for
do all of our own editing, production,
yes. No,
everything, and I think
Jamie does it. I
no,
just kind of listen and tell her what points I don't think we should do, and then makes it pretty. So
I try, but I think I sped up a little bit because I was like, oh, this is really long. And I was like, I'll just speed up to like 1.2. And you're like, we sound like mice. And I'm like, okay, what should we do? So like, this is where we're at. It's fine.
it was fine. Well, I was on the plane. I was on the plane this weekend. I had a solo trip. We'll get into that. Maybe not. Maybe next time. But and I texted and I just like got really in my head about it because I knew people, like not a lot of people, but I've been sharing it with some Bible study and some moms and groups and, going back, and the perfectionism came out, and it was like, we need to like slow this down. I didn't even know what we were talking about. I just only heard our voices. And I really got in my head about it. And it made me kind of want to revert and like tell people, like, don't listen, not listen. It made me like not want to share whatever it was. And
Kind of like made you kind of self-conscious of like, this isn't
yes,
as, ideal. And so
yeah, it's
yeah.
not, yeah, yeah. And obviously, Jamie and I are doing this to share some of our stories, share some of my testimony, and just basically, I mean, honestly, for my kid, even though some of the stuff now I'm like, should I have her listen to it? I'm just kidding. When she's older. But to your point, it made me really get in my head and kind of be self-conscious about it. And also, it's like who's supposed to listen to whatever is and who's not isn't. And like it doesn't really matter to your point of the control thing, because obviously we have people that just want to listen to what we're up to. And we have some people that maybe we don't know, because I know some of our friends have shared it. And it just made me kind of go back and be like, okay, let's just start all over and be professional. But that's not, I'm human too. And so, yeah, it kind of got me off track. Is that what you were
It's
getting at?
very, yeah, well, it's a very normal response, I think. I don't, I think it's just a very human response to become a little more self-aware of it and, very normal. But I thought the point that I was kind of getting to is how we talked about like if you put something in God's hands, you kind of have to leave it there. But sometimes, and I've done this so many times in my life too, where I'm like, Lord, this is in your hands. And then later, like with my job thing, and then later I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking around going like, I need to do this, or I need to control this, or what can I do? And
Mm-hmm.
then I have to remind myself, like we talked about earlier, like we gave it to him in the first place and trusted him going into it, but nobody really talks about leaving it in his hand. You know what I mean?
So
So I
that
think
is
it's a good reminder for all of us.
leaving it in his hands. It's really good to give it. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then take, and that could be, that's with anything. That's with a job. That's
Mm,
with a relationship. That's with a podcast. That's with our kids, like a decision on what they're going to do. That's with anything that we do. And yeah, I think that that's important. And also, we're human and we're going to go back. And that's why it's really good to have people to bounce things off of that you trust and that also have the same heart, because it'd be really easy to like spiral the other way. And I think our human minds um, tend to look towards negative more than positive. Like you really have to train your
yes.
mind to see the positive in things. And you really do. You really have to like train your mind it's a muscle to like see the positive things.
Mhm.
Um, and it's hard. And I think also going back to the bitterness and resentment, I think for me, I was actually speaking to someone today about like when you go through grief or hard time and things happen, it's so much easier to look more towards like the bitterness or resentment for whatever reasons. And so over
Mhm.
the years, I've really, really tried to not be like that. But I do still
Yeah.
have those moments like this where I'm like, hey, Jamie, we need to go
Mhm.
back and like, can we fix this? But then also I was like being like very passive aggressive instead of just like asking you, because we also know that I do that. I worry about everyone's feelings, which is great, but also at the same time, it's like it really doesn't get to the point. And then you're questioning, like, what did I do? Anyways, that's a whole nother episode.
No, it's great. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, is this something I can say something about? And if I do, how do I say this lovingly with the,
It
like
was also text and I was on a plane,
but
which
I
is,
love it
yeah.
because we are just, I feel like we're just growing together a lot. But I feel like, thank you for sharing all of that because, and being open to talking about it because I feel like it's very relatable to,
Yeah.
you know, always being worried about people's feelings or looking at ourselves. It's just like how oftentimes like women will notice things about ourselves that we'll nitpick. And I'll say to you like this thing I'm self-conscious about, and you'll be like, I never even noticed that, Jamie. Like it's just how it is. But when you were talking about that for a minute, it made me think about, was it Peter who got out of the boat and walked on the water? Like he was literally looking at Jesus, walking toward Jesus, walking on the water. And then he started looking at his own circumstances. And then he sunk, right? Or he started to sink because he stopped
Absolutely.
looking at Jesus. He stopped. It's like he went into it trusting Christ. And
Yes.
then once he was out in the middle of it, was when he was like, oh, hold on. Now this is scary. Like now that you're out on the
Mm-hmm.
water. So that was not even supposed to be our devotion today. So should we
Well,
get
it was.
into part two of our introduction? like,
This is great. We just ran off. No, I mean,
It is great. But I still want you to share about your weekend because I feel like it's a pretty big deal. And we can even close with that or talk more about it or whatever you want.
whatever it's up, it depends on your timing. Like how much more time do you have? And like, and I can make it as short or we can end it here for real.
We're good. We could do another, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. We'll edit,
Okay.
whatever. Okay, tell me about
Well,
your
this is
weekend.
like, so
Hmm?
m- moving forward, I don't know how to transition that. So basically what Jamie is saying is we had this whole other idea and here we are. So what do you want me to tell you about my weekend? We can go with the control thing because I feel like this weekend I had to give a lot of control over to my experience. What do
Yeah,
you want
well,
to
tell
know?
us what you did this weekend, and
Okay,
then I'll go over the verses like at the end. It'll be like a reverse devotional.
it's fine. I think there's no rules to this.
I know. That's what I love about it. Okay.
So I ran my 24th state. Do you mean to say more than that? I don't know how much I've talked about my
Yes,
running.
because what do you mean when you say your 24th state?
So I don't know if I've talked about this or not on here, but back in 2013, after my mom passed away, I think I've talked about this, right? I
A little
started
bit,
like
yeah.
okay, I started running in her honor, and at that time when she passed by suicide, I had been through some things already, and I basically started running in her honor. And I also started a blog. It's called Journey to 50 States. And I had been through a divorce. I had lost my dad in an accident. And then now I had this. And so I was just like going to go share my journey, why I was running. And the reason I started running and that I chose running is because, to be real with you, I hated it. At that time, I'd only done like two half marathons. I was in my early, like late 20s. And I literally could, to get me to like jog half a mile was not, I was like never doing this. And I chose it because after she passed, that's the only thing that I could do. I was a control thing actually, and that I
Mm,
could do to feel like I had control over it. So I ran a lot and it hurt me. And every time I would want to quit, I would think of her and her life and her dying by suicide. And I kept going.
mm,
I got in my accident a year later. I know I've talked about that before. And after my accident, I had to learn how to walk again, all the things. Since that accident, I have run probably, I don't know, over 19 half marathons. Um, Fast forwarding to now, the last 5 years of happening, I've had to take a lot of breaks in between um, through pregnancies, birth,
mm,
life. And this last 2 years, I've actually only run one half marathon, and that was almost 2 years ago. It was a solo race, and then this I did a Zion hike that I counted as a half marathon as well. And this was my first half marathon since we lost our last daughter, and so and it's also marks where our second daughter, Madison, she would have been 3 this week. So I had a lot to, what I'm trying to get, I had a lot to run for. I don't run
mm,
to like be in shape. I don't run to, because that, in fact, someone, I just said, like, I just thought you had a lot of medals and you just like loved running. I do love it now for the mental clarity, for the thought process. I do it because when I run, I literally give it to God. And this weekend I did do that a lot because I did not train for this as much as I normally do because I have a torn tendon, all the things. I have plantar fasciitis right now. So I was going into it solo. So I don't know if this is good, but part of this is a lot of times I go with family, sometimes I go with friends. Some of my favorite times of when I go by myself to a race, it was literally 40 hours. I literally got on the plane Saturday morning, flew there, checked in my hotel, rented a car. I don't know if anyone's been to Philadelphia. And if anyone knows me, like I have no business. First of all, I'm not me driving the city anymore is not cool. But then in this city, I did not have any business driving there. Okay. But I did it. I had a race Sunday morning, got on a plane. I was home last night. That was my week. Um, I know you had like probably certain questions about the race. I don't know if that's what you were talking about with the running or if you, what
No,
necessarily.
just the gist. So you mentioned the blog was called Journey Through the 50 States. So somewhere in there, your goal was to run or complete a half marathon in all the 50 states before you turn
No, there was no, it didn't matter.
There's no okay.
But now there is. Now there is. I would like to complete all of them by the time I'm 50.
Okay.
Now, since losing the babies, since losing like Madison, I kind of use running again as a thing. So there was one year, the last few years, I ran 5 half marathons in a year.
Wow.
And that's kind of cool because I make it a family thing. Like when I run, when I go running, it's like a whole, it's an experience and it's not beautiful. And we do vacations. We've done vacations. We went to the Grand Canyon. I did Nevada. I did Arizona. My family went. We've done it a long time because we both work from home for a while. Now that I'm
Mhm.
not currently have a full time career, like Alex will come with me sometimes. This one I did by myself, and I FaceTime them at the finish line. Sometimes I do races where there's 15 people in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes I do. This was one of the biggest races I've done solo. There was over 9,000 half marathoners, and I think there was like I don't know, a total of 15,000 total 7K and whatever. I don't really research a lot. I kind of just go with the flow. In fact, Jamie's like, how are you training? What are you wearing? I'm like, I was underprepared. I did not know it was going to be 30 degrees. I was underprepared. But whenever you say this is like the one thing I literally every time I run, I give it to God. I really do. Like I show up and I
Mhm.
do it. And like literally, I was like, if I do this race in 2.5 hours, I'll be happy because that's decent. I ended up doing like a 2:05 to be 2:05. So it was like a 9:30 something pace. Like I was
Mhm.
very shocked. I also do a thing where I write 13.1 on my arm, and at each mile, I put someone to pray for or something to pray for. Some people I let know, some people I don't let know. Um, this one was probably one of my best races that I didn't like prepare for. And I prayed a lot through it, and I got kind of emotional through it. Sorry about that. My last mile was for Madison, and I just thought about her and like who she could have been, and I imagined that life, and I praised God. Sorry, I
You're okay.
literally thanked God for my journey the last 3 years and for giving
Mm.
me the opportunity to carry these children and to deliver them into a world, even though they were sleeping, and to unbreak me over and over again. I did. I literally, and honestly, it was very cool finishing that finish line. There was no one there but me, but it's also like that is like my sanctuary. And sometimes I go with friends too. It's funny because people, you know, I've had people be like, I'm not a runner. I don't do this. And I don't think it could be anything in your life. It doesn't have to be running. It could be writing books. It could be walking. It could be just something. And for me, it's like doing something that's really hard
Mhm.
that I've been able to put that in my faith. Like, so for me, it's running. It could also just be getting up and doing laundry. It could also be getting up and going to a job that you hate. It could be
Yeah.
anything that we do that's a challenge to us for God. Mine over the years happens just to be journey through the 50 states. So when I tell that story, people learn about, my mom, depression, mental health stuff, my dad, what I've been through, all the things. I think for me, running after me going through postpartum and depression and my own, like, I mean, I know I lost my parents, but like physically losing, like, carrying a child and losing a child, like for me, running shifted differently when I kept having to do it and I was depressed. Not even after I like wasn't walking
Mhm.
anymore, because that's a whole nother story, right? Like when you have to learn how to walk and then you do it, like, oh, that's cool. Like you got some metal in your hip and like you're running, let's go. But then when you do it, when you're emotionally like knocked down, it's like, I think I wrote it somewhere. It's like where you keep getting back up
Mhm.
because God, He gets me
Yeah.
back up every time. So like that Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthen me.
Mm.
Like I can do all things through Christ who strengthen me, even get up after I've been knocked down 20 times and keep getting back up. Now I know it's a mental thing, but for me, like the running kind of is like that. Cause I'm sorry, at like mile 10, I don't love it. I'm just like, okay, this is great. I mean,
Okay.
but the encouraging part is you're
Wow.
seeing people, like there are people out there with like one foot and they have a prosthetic leg running. There are
Mm.
people out there that they're being pushed by like teams of people that they'll never be able to walk. When you go out there in an
Mhm.
atmosphere like that and you see that, it's a community. Some people are walking, all different shapes and sizes, all different shapes and sizes, some short, some tall, some bigger, some small. There was a kid out there doing it, So to me, when I go, it makes me excited to talk about it. When you go do it, it's not even just about running. That's not what it's about. It's not about that. It's about finishing something that's hard. But again, for me, that's running. For someone else, it could be doing something else. It could be baking. It could be struggling to get up every day and just getting up and doing something that's hard. And
Hmm.
so that's why I get passionate about this, because it would have been easier for me after that accident, or even after having another C-section or having kids, to be like, okay, I'm going to just not do this, but I'm going to finish it. So I want to be able to finish it by the time I turn 51. So I'd like to finish my last day when I'm 50. And it's hard. It's logistics. Like I literally, like we've had such a busy time lately. Like Thursday we had a big work event. I've been tired. I've been running and doing things. Like my husband's been in and out of town. We're busy. We're doing all the things. So I had to make it work in 40 hours. So I literally left Saturday, came back Sunday night. Sometimes they're longer. I like traveling. I love meeting people. It kind of refreshed me a little bit because I got to hear people's stories, and I like talking to people. So I
Hmm.
made a lot of new friends. Um,
Jennifer's just out there doing ministry on the trail,
no,
on the
and
plane, at the airport. I love it.
I had some great conversations. If you get out of your world of
Mm.
sometimes, like I talked to someone who's a surrogate mom. I talked to a girl who moved from college. I talked to a couple younger girls who when's their first half marathon, and you share and you connect, and it made me feel alive. And I do love doing that. But I also love going sometimes with my family. It's just flying with my husband. We're very different flyers. We'll tell you that sometime. Very different
Nice.
flyers. Anyway,
Yeah,
that was my weekend.
I love it. I love it. I know we have talked a little bit about the don't quit. We've talked about the running. I just don't know that you've gotten, all into the 50 states thing and like the fact that you just did one this weekend. Like, I just wanted you to be able to kind of share about it while it's fresh and
Yeah.
like how, how it applies to life and your walk with God. And I think you did that really beautifully. So we talked about a few verses about running because you guys know if you guys have been in the church for any time, you probably know there are verses or in the scripture for any time that talk about kind of comparing our walk with God with running or being in a race. And so one of the ones that you mentioned, do you want to share that one or do you want me to read it for you?
You can, because I think you have it pulled up.
Okay, so you mentioned the first one that you
That's,
came up with aside from Philippians was Isaiah 40:31. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So do you think of that when you're running? Does some of those come to
yes.
mind?
Um, yes, because I think that in life we go through challenges and you can either have them make or break you. And this is one of my things I say all the time. You've heard this. I've said this on here is we all have choices when things happen to us that aren't
Mhm.
fair. How you handle them. I said it to my daughter earlier. It's like, it's not about the choices that we make. It's not about the things that happen to us. It's about our reactions to them. And you could also live a life and be miserable. Okay. Totally can do that too, or not. With that verse, it's saying like, it's not even about keeping going and like relying on just what we talked about earlier about relying on God, about the decisions we make with our kids or our spouses or whatever. It's the same thing. Like we have to rely on Him.
Yeah.
So we're going, and how easy it is to get stuck in this like decision making where you're paralyzed and then you just sit there stressed out about whatever decision you're going to make. And we're not
Mhm.
trusting God to renew our strength to have us keep going. Boom.
Right.
So, I mean, I know we're talking about running, but the same thing
No.
and making a decision. That makes it very simple. Did that make sense? So,
Yes.
um, but yes, in my run yesterday, I will tell you, I started out really a lot faster than I thought. The weather was really good too. Running when it's 30 degrees outside is awesome, by the way. Just not standing there before.
Yeah.
But you get to a point, like the mileage, or whatever, you get to the point, and like literally, I remember had my praise music like super loud in my ear, and I was taught, and I remember saying, God, actually, I was texting with people, and it's part of my family. And I was like, I'd run up to like 6, and I'd done like a 9-mile walk a few weeks ago. I was like, these last miles are God's because I didn't ever go more than this in like 2 years. I'd never run, like in 2 years, I'd not run more than like 6 miles. Okay.
Wow.
So, and he did it. I ran it, and I ran it at a faster pace than I thought I could. I've done faster ones, slower ones, but for me, that was a testament to like, that wasn't me. And that wasn't me. Like nothing
Yeah.
we do is us, but like just giving it to him. And I know it's kind of cliche, but um, yeah.
I love it. It kind of reminds you too, just even physically, like it tells your mind like you can do hard things, like you could do more than you think you can. And I think that in itself, even without the faith piece, is great. But then you add on like trusting the Lord to get you through. A couple of other verses that we pulled up. I pulled up Hebrews 12:2. It says, "Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame. He sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." That's a good one. I know we're at
Good
the end
one.
here, so we're not going to like unpack them all, but like
No,
just kind of bringing it together. 2 Timothy 4:7. Sorry. Um, this is Paul. He says, I'll pick up in verse 7. So he says, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but also to all who have loved his appearing." So it talks about finishing strong. I know you were talking the other day about the running and you were saying like you don't actually love it, which thank you for sharing that because in my mind, like just for our listeners to understand, you're like 5'7", 5'8", or something like that.
I think I'm shrinking.
I'm 5'2.5". Like I'm not a runner. But when I see Jennifer do it, I'm like, oh, she's just like tall and thin, like has cute little feet. Like she just prances and it's so easy for her. And like in my mind, I'm short and have flat feet. And like, I have excuses in my head comparing myself, which I shouldn't do. And like, oh, I'm getting older, my knee hurts. And then you're out here
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna go run my 24th half marathon with a metal plate in my hip. I'm like,
And the
there's no
plantar fasciitis.
excuse.
No, I'm just kidding. No, and so here's
Yeah.
the thing. I always, and I never knew how to explain that well. So like I have metal, I have plantar fasciitis. Like I haven't cross trained. So that means like since I had my accident, I cross train, I lift weights, I do weights. I don't run as much as I used to. Like I literally, since 2015, maybe when I'm training for a race, maybe run once a week. People don't know that. You cross train, you do. I've had to adjust. I've had to adjust the way I do things in order to get to my goals. So it's
Mhm.
not even about like the running. So when you see me run these states, like for this one, for instance, and I'm not feeling terrible today. For this one, for instance, I literally ran in the last 2 years, maybe maybe a dozen times. Like we're talking like little 2 mile runs, which you do that. But as far as like long runs, like I barely do it. And it's funny because people look at it like, oh, well, you're just a runner. And yes, I'm built a little differently, but also like I had to be in a cast a while back, not like years ago. Like because I have plantar fasciitis, they literally put me in a cast because I wouldn't step my foot. Well, it still flares up, obviously, sometimes. Then I have a tear in my thing. But and I never want to make anyone feel bad because running's not everyone's thing. That's just the thing that I chose.
Yeah.
And also, to be real with you, some days I'm like, why did I choose this? But my body's just so used to the things. Once I get out there, I do love it for the most part now, but sometimes I hate it. But that's just like anything in life. That's just like when you work out and do things, right? So this isn't
Mhm.
just like, so thank you for saying that too, because I think it's funny people look at me that way. And like, I always used to call myself a fake runner because I don't feel like I'm that half marathon. And also it's half marathon. You can go out and like walk half marathon. Anyone can go do that, but it may just hurt if they don't, not in
I feel like
shape
I
or
get really
whatever.
bored. Like I'm not trying to
Yeah.
go walk for like 4 hours.
Mm-mm,
No, I
mm-mm.
think it's
But
great. Sometimes,
it's a mental thing though. Like I have my mind
yes.
busy. I'm thinking, praying, like you're clearing your head. But
Yeah.
sometimes, like I said, no, it's not for everybody. Just like I am not a CrossFit person.
Yeah.
I am not a catapulting person or a fisherman, or I don't know. They could go on.
Yeah.
We're all just different, right?
Yeah. But I like how you're talking about even in the middle of the race, like there's things about it that are painful. And at the very same time, things that are like beautiful and energize you. And they exist in the same space. Like, what? Your
That's
face is so cute.
no, that's like two things can be, what did you say? You say beautiful all the time. Like there are two things, three things,
Two
five things can
things.
be true at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I was thinking about too, when you talk about endurance and grit and things like that, applying to racing, I'm hearing you talk about it not just about one specific race, but your whole process of doing the 24 that you've done so far. Like, look how much that's changed. So thanks for talking about that too.
Mm-hmm. When I first started running, after, well, I've done a couple like halves that I was like, I'm never doing this again in my late 20s. But I remember I used to run like 5 days a week, like anywhere from like 2 to like 5 to 10 miles. I literally, like,
Yeah.
I never cross train. I never was like, oh, whatever. Now that well, one, we're getting older, our body's changing, but two, since the accident, I've had to adjust the way that I train because just the truth be told, I'm going to have a hip replacement. It's just going to have to happen. With the way the accident was and where like the broken the pelvis and the way that the metal is, I'm
Mhm.
just going to have one. But I'm trying to save my miles for the actual races. So now I may go get on the elliptical for 2 hours. And let me tell you, who wants to do that either? Like no one. But I don't do it often. Now that, especially since I have a kid, I don't train as much. It's kind of funny. I was telling someone I trained more probably when I was working full time and had her home with me when she was like one than I do now. Isn't that funny how that
Yeah.
works? Like I train more then than I do now.
Yeah.
And I have more time probably now to go train, but now I'm like, I gotta do all the other things, anyway, that's a whole nother.
Right. That is a whole other thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The endurance, the adaptability, like I
You can
love
apply
it.
everything that you can apply running to life. Literally. Like people probably get so
Hmm.
annoyed with me, but I literally apply running to life. You want to quit? You're at mile 8. You want to quit? Are you going to keep going? Or are you going to quit? Because you can quit. And also, just to let you know, I don't run all my races. I'm not talking about to run the whole race. I'm talking about just finishing the race. Whether you walk, run, or you crawl, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Because I will tell you, even the race I did yesterday, I did not run the whole thing. I stopped at the water stations. I walked. So that's another thing. People are like, oh, you just run the
You
whole
didn't
thing.
run the
Yes, I
whole
have
thing and you
run.
still had a 9 something.
I didn't run the whole thing.
Dang,
But
girl.
also, the better times I get are the times that I take breaks and have water breaks.
Yeah.
I get better times. Well, guess what in life? Guess what?
You got to
You're
rest.
you
Got
got
to
to rest.
pace yourself.
Yes,
Got to
yes.
adapt.
There you go.
I wasn't trying to
Perfect.
cut you off. Sorry.
No, no, you're good. No, you didn't. It's perfect.
Okay. I love it. Well, there's our reverse devotion where we did all the scripture at the end. But I feel like it really does all tie together because yes, we are running this race and it's nice to have people running it with you. So thank you for running my race with me. I appreciate it. Definitely
Thank
makes life
you.
more enjoyable.
It does. It thanks, and I appreciate you. And you have a good rest of your afternoon.
Okay, you too. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We truly hope this episode has touched your heart.
If someone came to mind while you were listening, please feel free to share this with them.
And if you have any questions or feedback for us, you can reach us at allthingsunbrokenpodcast@gmail.com.
Have an awesome day.